Good evening. This is Gay Spirit, a program of information and entertainment for the lesbian and gay community of the greater Hartford area.
I want to know why the tide pulls away from the sand and why it comes back again. I want to know how the planets and stars stay aligned and how it all began. I want to learn why certain numbers can't be divided. I want to know what happens when atoms are collided. There's so many thoughts and theories I could show you, but the greatest quest or query is to know you. I want to know you. I want to know everything that you are, everything that you've been, everything you'll be. I want to learn every lash of your eye, every inch of your skin, each bended knee. I want to learn each cell and all the secrets that comprise you. Oh, I'll study well until I memorize you. There's so many thoughts and theories I could show you, but my greatest quest or query is to know you. I want to know you like a book that I've read while I'm lying in bed. I will hold you and fold you and all that you've said. There's something in you I can't help but pursue. Something I wish I knew. I want to know why the tide pulls away from the sand. I want to know how the planets and stars stay aligned. I want to know you.
That was D.C. Anderson singing I Want to Know You. The music for this song comes from Matt O'Brien with lyrics by Matt Vinson. The song takes its inspiration from the famous novel Anne of Green Gables by Lucy Maud Montgomery, the Canadian author. Following its first publication in 1908, it has been made into stage and movie versions and a television series too. It was adapted into a musical in 1985 with music and words by Don Herron and Norman Campbell. By the way, literary critic Heather Hogan, writing for autostraddle.com, the website, says that the central character in the novel, the red-haired orphan girl, Anne Shirley, is obviously bisexual, and that her relationship in the story with Diana Barry has got to be lesbian in quality. Heather Hogan praises the Netflix series remake for TV for bringing the relationship into proper perspective. In the new O'Brien Vinson musical, Anne of Green Gables, that song is given to the young male character named Gilbert. D.C. Anderson himself doesn't sing that number. In the now playing production of Anne of Green Gables at Goodspeed Opera House, which is the perfect venue for a story from 1908. The show will be playing at good speed through September 4th. In the show, DC portrays Anne's foster father. The singing voice of openly gay singing actor and cabaret artist DC Anderson should be familiar to listeners to this radio show from various tracks from his numerous solo CD albums going back to the 1990s. I've interviewed him several times for Gay Spirit broadcast over the years. What you heard from him just now is new song material not previously available on disc. I first heard it performed live in DC's living room before a small audience with Zoom guests looking in online. I was one of those privileged guests. What I watched live is now available to the public as a Facebook video. It's essentially the kind of performance DC often gave in some intimate cabaret venue in New York City in pre-COVID days. DC performed on Broadway way back when in Phantom of the Opera and other musicals. He came to Hartford with the road company of Phantom a couple of times. I Want to Know You is one of the tracks from the DC Anderson House Concert album, available for audition on YouTube and Pandora too. And you heard it over Gay Spirit, America's longest continuously running radio program specifically devoted to lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender issues, now into its 42nd year of uninterrupted week-by-week broadcast over listener-supported WWUH. Since 1988, Gay Spirit has shared an hour-long time slot with This Way Out on Thursday evenings here at 91.3 FM. This Way Out is the internationally transmitted LGBT radio magazine. The current half-hour installment of This Way Out is aired from 8 p.m. to 8:30, followed by 30 minutes of locally produced Gay Spirit, bringing you up to 9 o'clock. The current Gay Spirit show is repeated in Facebook presentation on its own Fridays at noontime. You can also hear the current installment of This Way Out over WWUH's sister station, WESU, the radio station of Wesleyan University in Middletown. Tune in to 88.1 FM Wednesday mornings from 8:30 to 9 a.m. Many folks here in the greater Hartford listening area who listen to WWUH are also able to pick up the WESU signal. My almanac tells me this Thursday night in August is the night of the full sturgeon moon. I'll have another song for you sung by DC Anderson about the moon before tonight's Gay Spirit show ends. In the middle part of the show, we turn to the issue of domestic violence. It's an issue within the general heterosexual population, to be sure, but it also affects same-sex couples in ostensibly loving relationships. Finally, someone has written about this subject and offers gay men a guide to deal with abusive partners. Timothy McLemore is the author who exposes the dark side of pride in his new book, Love is Not Abuse. I reached him by Zoom in Miami, Florida. Timothy McLemore, I'm wondering now, what we will be discussing is a kind of a problem in people's intimate relationships. And I'm curious to know, since the book is about that, have you got any background in social work?
No, my sister has a degree in social work, and I do have a social worker on my board of my nonprofit, but I myself did not study social work.
But you're certainly interested in the welfare of our gay community and what happens in love relationships, maybe when, well, love goes wrong. Now, another thing I'm thinking about here that we're not talking about S&M or the bondage scene among gay males.
Right.
That's a whole different scene here. And I'm assuming we're also not talking about people who are involved in masochistic practices.
Right.
This is different here.
Oh, yeah. Very different, Keith.
Now, why did you write a book like this?
I wrote this book to really provide a roadmap of hope for other queer individuals that went through the same thing that I was going through, or people that may feel stuck, and just to raise awareness all around.
Yeah. Part of what you were writing about here is from personal experience.
That's right. Hmm.
Now, so I guess part of what we're talking about is here, you get into a love relationship with another person, the same-sex love relationship, but things have gone wrong. But how do you get out of an abusive relationship, an LGBTQ a relationship? And you
Yeah.
provide a roadmap.
Oh, yeah. Well, to answer your question, Keith, um, first things first, if you see something, say something. That goes for everyone. If you see one of your friends are not acting like themselves, speak up and say something, because not only are you raising the awareness level of the person in an abusive relationship that the situation is not okay, you also establish yourself as a resource for them when they're ready to get out, someone to talk to, someone to speak to. Another thing you can do if you find yourself in this situation or know someone in this situation is to contact your authorities. I know we don't have the best relationship, queer individuals and the police, but having a paper trail is best, because the court system, sometimes they look at you with question marks. Police, sometimes they look at you with
Yeah.
question marks, because they don't really understand the full dynamic of abusive relationship in same-sex ones. Everyone can sympathize and understand a woman with a man, being that everyone, typically sees a man so much stronger than a woman. So that's easy to sympathize with and understand. But authorities, when they're looking at same sex, they're just kind of like, hey, hash it out like men, and keep it pushing. But some people like me aren't like that. I do not like to fight people that I love. And I don't like to experience violence from someone that I love. And that's really what my book is all about, how I got out of that relationship. And I also share some tips and resources for those that find themselves in this situation.
Yeah. Now, I am also assuming that that sure, this is a problem, but the problem could be way worse if you are trans, if you are
Mm.
Black, and just
Yep.
if you are plain poor. You don't have the resources to help extricate yourself from an abusive relationship.
You are so right, Keith.
Now, how do you report it? How do you report and document legal intervention?
Well, nowadays we have access to technology. So, recording sometimes helps, screenshotting threatening text messages, of course, having police reports. All of those things come in handy, at least in my situation, when it came down to the person, going to jail, and there was a whole court thing, ordeal going on. All of those phone calls that were made to police in the past were very useful and helpful, because they showed and proved how detrimental the situation was. Um, because, like I said, I didn't feel like I was being taken seriously throughout this process. I didn't feel like the police took me serious. Um, One of the officers mentioned, that my previous, when the cops came and I was dating this guy, my ex abusive partner, they mentioned that since he had a toothbrush at my house for more than 2 weeks, there was no way that they could move him, because by law, um, if you had a belonging there for more than 2 weeks in the state of Florida, you live there. And this is all during COVID and whatnot, so no one was really exercising eviction laws, or um, so yeah, I really felt stuck with this person. Um, Not only did he verbally remind me that he wasn't going anywhere and he'll always be here, I felt like my environment reminded me that he was always going to be there as well. So yeah, I felt stuck.
Now, how difficult is it to obtain a protective order against an abuser?
For me, it took maybe, I think it was 13 phone calls, 13 incidences before I was taken serious, before I actually uh, had a restraining order against him, before they made him go, to domestic violence counseling and classes and anger management classes. It took 13 incidences, various scars and wounds, and hospital visits before I actually was taken serious.
That is horrible. And now listen, what I'm thinking about now is, okay, so you get away from your abuser. Must you shut off all contact and all communication with the person that abused you?
Yes, Keith. Yes, and it's very hard, very hard. Because let me tell you something, Keith. When you're going through these volatile experiences with someone that you love, especially, or that you're intimate with, you create kind of like a bond, a trauma bonding, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like you feel closer to this person in some kind of weird, sick way. You guys are bonding. You guys are bonding over trauma, and um, I felt like that was something that was part of the dynamic that we were in. So I did miss him. I didn't miss the violence. I missed him as a person, and I felt like we were very connected somehow through the trauma that we had.
Yeah. Now, I'm also thinking a really bad situation to get into is when you are financially dependent upon an abusive partner. And let's say, all right, you're dependent upon them, you must flee, but then you're out on the street, you have no money, you have nowhere to go. The cops may not believe you. Where
Yeah.
can you go? And
Yeah, Keith.
actually, maybe I can answer that question on your behalf, because, well, you do provide a place for people to go and to tell their story, right?
Yeah, currently we have a virtual house, a Facebook group where victims and survivors of domestic violence within the queer community can share resources and stories. But I'm currently in the growing phase of my nonprofit organization, Essential Cause, which will be a domestic violence shelter for anyone that is queer that's suffering from domestic violence or homelessness. We want to provide a roadmap of hope for those individuals to get out of that situation. It'll be located in Miami, Florida, but accessible to anyone in the country. You could be in a small town in Louisiana and you need help. We want to get you down here, provide you with educational resources, job placement, housing assistance, whatever you need to start anew. We really want to provide that for these survivors and these victims, because no one should be in an abusive relationship, gay, straight, bi, trans, Black,
Yeah.
or rich.
Yeah.
No one. So, yeah.
Timothy, maybe one of your ultimate goals, would it be to have places like Essential Halls in various cities around the country?
Yes. So I actually met with a wonderful lady. Her name is Shelly. We met over Zoom. She saw me on, I was on a live TV interview a couple weeks ago. She's a 68-year-old cisgender Jewish woman. She's a psychiatrist. And one of her favorite populations to study was the queer community. And she sort of reached out to me because she's done a lot of work with domestic violence within the queer community. And she felt like it was something very sacred and hardly spoken about. So she was really touched with my story. She wanted to get involved with my organization. So now we've sort of created a plan to open another house maybe in Texas where she's located. And being that she's Jewish and we really want to show how welcoming Essential Halls is, we were thinking of naming it Mazel Halls. So Yes, we definitely have plans of opening up, different shelters and houses throughout the country, but one step at a time.
Yeah, but also people can reach you through Gays with Stories on Instagram.
Yep. Gays with Stories is an amazing platform that I have where I share the stories of happy gay couples. But my personal Instagram account is essentially Tim altogether. And the nonprofit organization's Instagram is Essential Haus, Haus, which is German for great house.
Oh, yes. Yes. I know the term from German. Talking here with Timothy McLemore, who is the founder of Essential Haus. You can reach him through Gays with Stories on Instagram, and his book, Love is Not Abuse, is coming out now. Is it available through Amazon?
Yes, it'll be available through Amazon within the next coming weeks.
Okay, that's great to know, and I'm hoping that you can be a help to many people across the country who need to have their story of abuse told. Thanks
Thank you
so
so
much.
much, Keith. Thank you. Thank you.
When you're all alone any old night and you're feeling out of tune, pick up your hat, close up your flat, get out and get under the moon. Underneath the bright silvery light, you'll be feeling better soon. Pick up your hat, close up your flat, get out and get under the moon. Look at the stars above. Look at the sweetest love. Oh boy, give me a night in June. We mean it. All you gotta do, any all night, when you're feeling out of tune. Pick up your hat, close up your flat, get up, get under the moon. What do you do in the evening when you don't know what to do? Read a book, play a game. Every night it's just the same. What do you say if I tell you how to keep from feeling blue? My advice is good to take, and it's easier to do. All you gotta do, any old night, when you're feeling out of tune, pick up your hat, close up your flat, get up, get under the moon.
Get Out and Get Under the Moon dates back almost 100 years to the 1920s, with music by Larry Shea and lyrics by Charles Tobias and William Jerome. D.C. Anderson recorded it right around the turn of this century, and it comes as a track on the D.C. Anderson Collected compilation CD from 2002. Take a look outside and you'll see the beautiful full sturgeon moon. A lot of Connecticut queer folks who are heading for the beaches of Cape Cod will be on their way now at this time of year. P-Town's biggest public event comes at the end of the season. Jay Critchley welcomes you back to P-Town for the 35th annual Swim for Life, scheduled for Saturday, September 10th. The Swim for Life and Paddler Flotilla is the Cape's longstanding fundraising benefit for AIDS, women's health, and other community organizations. Longtime Provincetown resident Jay Critchley founded the event in the summer of 1988 when he and Walter McLean swam together across Provincetown Harbor and thereafter resolved to do it again at the end of every season. COVID had its effect on the swim in the past couple of years when the swim was rerouted and went partly online. That's why Jay Critchley wants swimmers, kayakers, boaters, walkers, and volunteers to return to P-Town for a revived in-person celebration The in-person swim goes a distance of 1.2 miles along the shallow East End shoreline to Cannery Waterfront Park. Or you can do a freshwater swim at Gull Pond in Wellfleet Township. Swimmers, paddlers, and shoreline walkers too need to register for the swim in advance as fundraising participants. Learn about registration at the website www.swim4life.org. Swimming participants and the whole community gather at the end of the swim for the Mermaid Brunch, and there's a Celebration of Life concert too. The information about it all is at swim4life.org. Also write the Provincetown Community Compact, Post Office Box 819, Provincetown, MA, zip 02657. Jay Critchley, by the way, comes originally from the Forestville section of Bristol, Connecticut. Our True Colors is gone now, but well remembered for the supportive services it provided for Connecticut's sexual minority youth going back to 1922. Beginning in 2022, the organization called Q+ has stepped in to provide social and support programs for queer youth, including a weekly online game night and online support group, also in-person activities and workshops, and Friday activity nights during the school year. The Gay Straight Alliance movement remains in place in school systems throughout the state, and Q+ cooperates with and builds upon the GSA movement by facilitating a Google Classroom, monthly GSA meetups on Zoom, GSA visits and consultations, student workshops and training sessions for school staff too. The goal of all these LGBTQ+ offerings is youth empowerment. Contact Q+ now and learn about their youth open mics, Q+ summer camp, the GSA ambassadors, and more. Reach them online at www.qplusct.wixsite.com. That's WIXSITE. Q+ has a presence on Facebook at q.plus.ct. If all goes as planned, Gay Spirit Radio will bring the voices of Q+ founders Norman LeBrun and Mel Cordner on the air, and they will tell you all about the queer youth scene in our state and how we can improve life for our youth. Well, that's all for this radio version of Gay Spirit, which was produced by Ira Rebels. Be back with us again next week at the usual time of radio presentation on WWUH 91.3 FM, Thursday evenings from 8:30 to 9 p.m. For more information and entertainment for Greater Hartford's lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and yes, queer community, this is Keith Brown for Gay Spirit, hoping you have a real gay week. Stay cool and good night.
The gay spirit singing.